Ramesh on the disabled list twice this year. The Royals had a big hole in the starting rotation. But along came Bruce Chen, who has filled in with 8 starts and a winning record. Tonight, he faces the A's on Fox Sports Kansas City. Major League Baseball began in Kansas City at 22nd and Brooklyn Municipal Stadium, the home of the A's first and then the Royals. And these two teams have been going at one another since 1969. Tonight, they'll play the second game of a 3-game series at beautiful Kauffman Stadium. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the ballpark. I'm Ryan Lefevre with Royals Hall of Famer Frank White, who grew up in Kansas City, played for the Royals, was a fan of the Royals, but before all of that, was a fan of the Kansas City A's.
Well, it definitely was, Ryan. That was the game that was on in our house every day. My dad was a big A's fan, and so I know all those guys. You know, I go back to Jim Gentile and Norm Seaver and Jerry Lumpy. We go back to Ed Charles, one of my favorite guys. And I even had a chance to see some of the new A's come in, like Reggie Jackson and Sal Bando and Joe Rudy.
And now, with the great career that you've had and so many people ask for your autograph, it's interesting to me that you were too bashful to ask for autographs when you were a kid and went to the ballpark.
Well, we looked at these guys as stars back in those days. We didn't have a lot of TV games, mostly on radio, and there was a door on the south side of the stadium that the players used to exit after the games, and they'd come out and we'd start backing up. We didn't ask for autographs. We were too afraid. They were just like bigger than life to us, but it was just amazing how that stadium in the middle of the community was such a good thing. The thing we used to listen for was a big horn they had on the center field wall. So anytime that siren went off, that means that the A's either won or someone hit a home run.
Well, here's the ballpark tonight. The A's and the Royals are going to look back on their histories. Of course, the A's began in Philadelphia, came to Kansas City before they ended up in Oakland. On the mound for the Royals tonight, it's left-hander Bruce Chen, who got pushed around a bit in his last start at Chicago. But two things to talk about there. He had strep throat, and the White Sox were red hot. We'll talk more about Bruce when we come back. or visit kia.com. By Kellogg's, the best to you each morning. And by Bluebell Ice Cream. Sweeten your summer with your favorite Bluebell flavor. Pick some up today. We talked last night about how the A's have really ramped up their running game. This is a stolen base from Scott Pasetnik during the last road trip. The Royals have one stolen base in their last 8 games, and that's a long ways away from the pace they had to begin the year.
Well, you're right. At the beginning of the year, Scott Pasetnik was getting on base, getting around, and they had a chance to score a run in the first. But that's why he's here. He's here to get on base, steal bases, and create situations for the Royals to score.
Only 3 stolen bases in this month so far for the Royals. Royals hoping for a bounce-back effort from Bruce Chen. Had a tough time in Chicago, but 2 starts ago took a perfect game into the 7th inning, beating the Angels. And here's the Kia report on him tonight.
Well, after losing 4 in a row, the Royals are really going to be looking to Bruce Chen to get things turned around. 3 of his 4 wins as a starter have followed Royals' losses.
And the A's lineup he will face tonight, presented by M&I Bank. And the A's overall have not had a great season on offense, but they're on a bit of a roll right now. They scored 30 runs in their last 4 games. They scored 5 last night. Joaquin Soria got some work last night. It wasn't a save situation. He has saved his last 18, but he hasn't had a save opportunity in his last 10 days. It's game 2 with the Royals and the A's, and the first pitch is next. Corner cable, where HD is free with digital cable. And Kansas City is an oven tonight. And down near the Royals dugout in the heat, in the sun, in the humidity, and without a single drop of perspiration on his forehead is Joel Goldberg.
Oh, that's not possible, but yes, it is an oven. I'll tell you one guy that feels good, though, Bruce Chen, and that's a little bit different than his last start in Chicago. Remember, he came out early because he had strep throat. But interesting, I was talking to Bruce, guys, and that illness actually started before that series. He went 6 perfect innings against Anaheim, but was a little bit ill at that point. A 1 a.m. arrival in Seattle on a flight, a 6 a.m. arrival in Chicago didn't help. The strep kicked in. He lost 10 pounds, didn't eat for a few days, was down from 215 to 205 in Chicago. But he said the All-Star break was good to him. He's eating fine now. He's gained a few pounds back. He's at about 208. He said he likes the figure. More importantly, likes the way he feels. Guys?
Thanks, Joe. Ball one to Coco Chris. Well, of course, it's the manly thing to say that, you know, I can't make any excuses. But when you talk about all the things that Bruce had to deal with and then gets beaten by the White Sox, I mean, that's maybe not an excuse. It's a good explanation as Coco Chris pops out to Billy Butler and one away. Well, it says 92 degrees. It feels a lot warmer than that. The heat index is at 106, with the game starting on time at 6:10. Time and temp brought to you by the parking spot. Easy to spot, easy to park. The parking spot at KCI. So 2 pitches, 1 out. And now Derek Barton takes a strike, says home plate umpire Larry Vanover. Barton 0 for 3 last night, and he is 2 for his last 29. 1 ball, 1 strike. Barton laid down a sacrifice bunt in the A's biggest inning, a 3-run third. Also had a walk. Now ahead in the count, 2 balls and 1 strike. And that sacrifice bunt for him gave him 11, and it's still strange seeing an Oakland A's hitter at the top of the American League in that category, sack bunts. I mean, that was on the A's endangered species list.
That didn't really fit with Moneyball when Moneyball first came out.
That ball's hit hard, and that'll be up against the wall in right field. Mitch Meyer in right field tonight, and Barton is at second base with 1 out. Here are the Royals on defense behind Bruce Chen tonight, brought to you by Suzuki. David DeJesus will move to center. Mitch Meyer will be in right field for just the second time this year. Same infield as last night. And Jason Kendall will battle the heat behind home plate.
So far, Bruce Chen, Ronnie's having a hard time getting the ball down. And that ball stayed up, and Barton was able to get around on it. But when he gets the ball down, especially to the lefties, to the outside part of the plate, especially his curveball and the different arm angles he uses with his fastball, then he'd be much more effective.
And that sums up what went wrong for him in Chicago. He just couldn't get the ball down, didn't have an easy inning. He did have 1, 2, 3 inning, but all of those outs were hit hard. And a home run from A.J. Pierzynski in the 4th inning knocked him out. Bruce going just 3 1/3 a week ago Friday at Chicago. The Royals wearing throwback caps, but not to an earlier time in the Royals history, but the colors for the A's when they first arrived from Philadelphia. Barton had to make sure that Pasednik wouldn't make the play, so he'll move up to third base on the single from Kurt Suzuki. So the A's have runners at first and third with 1 out.
That's really probably not a good read by Barton coming off second base. Mike Gallegos was really waving them around. He kept looking at the ball. But if you, with the angle he has coming off second base, you can see the distance between him and the left fielder, and he should have been able to read that ball and score on that play. You can see right there just a lot of hesitation, not aggressive at all.
So that means a ground ball and a double play, and Bruce Chen can get out of this. And Kevin Kuzminoff, who digs in, has hit into 13 double plays this year. No balls, 1 strike. Kuzminoff with 2 hits, 2 runs driven in last night's game. Had a 2-run single in the A's 3-run third, and all of those runs were unearned because of an error. 1-1. Well, it was a hot night last night. Not as hot as it is tonight. But a warm night nonetheless. Zach Greinke working on 9 days rest, and now Bruce Chen dealing with the heat, and he is working on 8 days rest. He's ahead of Kuzminov, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
I don't think it's uncommon for a guy to go that long and not feel too strong. And if you go out there and you try to overthrow and you try to do a little too much, you just got to get back to the rhythm you had before the All-Star break. That's a long time not getting on the mound and really getting a feel for what you're doing out there.
Look out. And it's a good thing the Royals have netting in front of their dugout. The ball would have hit Anthony LaRue maybe in the midsection if not for the netting. Told you last night, earlier this month, Kevin Kuzminov ended an 0 for 30. So he had 2 hits and 2 RBIs last night, but over a long stretch, he's been a struggling hitter, just 8 out of 54. And there are several A's hitters that really limped into the All-Star break.
He's got kind of a long swing, and I think that hurts him a lot. That breaking balls are probably the best pitch you can throw him for contact. Fastball's a little bit long on.
He might drive in 2 again. The Royals, with a good relay throw, might get Suzuki. He is safe, and the relay to third is late. So the Royals decided to cut that ball off and go for the play at third. And Kuzminov beats the throw, so it's a 2-run triple.
Bruce Chen really hangs a breaking ball. We talked about the long swing of Kuzminov, and this is the best pitch you can throw him if you wanted to get the ball hit hard. And he drives it in the left center field. David does a good job going and trying to cut this ball off, but it got by and went all the way to the wall. And get the relay throw coming in. And this is the play where Billy does a good job. He cuts the ball off. He goes back to third, but Kuzminov beat the throw to third base.
Well, it was ruled a double with the runner going to third on the throw to the plate. The only problem with that is the throw didn't go to the plate.
No, he got cut off. And
so make it a 2-run double. The Royals bring the infield in with 1 out. And a base hit to left field for Adam Rosales. So the A's come up with 3 in the first inning. They scored all 5 of their runs last night in the first 3 innings.
That curveball that Bruce Chen threw to Kuzminov, it didn't really have that good down action that you normally see his curveball had. It sort of stayed out over the plate a little bit, and that long swing, he was able to get the bat to it. And there, the pitch didn't get inside far enough, and Rosales got a base hit to left field.
So 4 straight have reached after Coco Chris popped up. And now it's Mark Ellis, the A's regular second baseman. He's the DH tonight. Ellis had 2 hits and an RBI last night. So Rosales, who just drove in the 3rd run, he's at second. Ellis is the DH. A little bit outside. That hits the inside corner. 1 ball, 1 strike on Ellis. As a starter for the Royals, Bruce Chen has made 8 starts before tonight, and only once has he allowed more than 3 earned runs. And the A's trying to make it the 2nd time and trying to do all of that in the 1st inning. Two balls, 1 strike. Well, the goal for both pitchers will be the same, aside from the obvious. Trying to get outs get all their pitches over for strikes, win the game. The other goal is to try and have quick innings so everyone isn't standing around in this heat any longer than they need to.
Well, you're right about that, Ryan. This is not a good night to be throwing a lot of pitches per inning. You won't be in the game very long at all. You know, Bruce brings in a 220 opponent's batting average against, and you didn't expect, the way the game started off, you didn't expect to start off the way it has so far. But if you can get out of this inning where it's at right now and hold it, then that gives the Royals an opportunity to come back.
It's not as bad for the infield right now as it is for the outfield. They're still in the sun. Ellis strikes out, and that's out number 2 in the first inning. Here are all the hits, the 4 hits, and the pitch location to Barton, Suzuki, Kuzminoff, and Rosales.
Well, you can see, Ryan, those first 2 hits are up. This is a curveball that stayed up, and this is what wouldn't consider a terrible pitch to the right hitter, but to Kuzminoff with that long swing, it was a great pitch for him. And this pitch here, Rosales was inside, but he was able to get to it. So mainly location right now has been the big part, up in the zone and then location on the plate.
Rosales at first, 2 down, and Matt Carson at the plate. He was not in the game last night. Carson, originally from the Yankees organization, drafted in the 5th round in 2005 and signed with the A's this year as a minor league free agent. So he's in right tonight. Gabe Gross was in right field last night, and that's drilled to left field. It will sail over Posednik's head up against the fence, and Mike Gallego is going to hold Rosales at third, and the A's have runners at second and third.
But right now, Bruce Chen, no matter what he throws up there, Ryan, they're all over it. That was a changeup right there that Carson hit. I mean, he got all of this ball, and before Posednik can get turned around, this ball was hitting off the wall, and Scotty did a great job planting off the wall to keep Rosales from scoring from first base.
It's the first major league double for Matt Carson. So the A's with 3 runs on 5 hits, and Bruce Chen has recorded 2 outs. And now he'll deal with Rajai Davis, who has a chance to drive in 2 with a base hit. Davis 1 for 3 last night, stole his 28th base of the year. That is the 3rd highest total in the American League. Strike 1 from Bruce Chen. So Bruce with 26 pitches in the top of the first inning, and the way the A's are swinging the bat, Royals are working already in the bullpen. Kanekoa Teixeira is starting to loosen up, and I would think this is one of those days where the manager really has to be careful when you warm a guy up with this heat.
Well, if you warm him up, you got to warm him up with the intention of them coming in the ball game. You only got more than 2 times would be too many.
Lead off the pitch up, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Yeah, Bruce Chen, you wonder how healthy he is. I mean, not in terms of whether he's sick or not, but just overall stamina. You know, your last day before the All-Star break, you're feeling sick, and now you got 4 days off where you're not doing any running and not doing a lot of physical exercise, and now you find yourself on the mound. So it might be a stamina issue right now for Bruce Chen also.
And a curveball is hit in the air to right. Meyer is there. The A's come up with 3 in the top of the first. right-hander Trevor Cahill on the mound, but he will be in right field. David DeJesus will play in center. '22-year-old Trevor Cahill. He was an all-star for the A's. Here's the Kia report.
Well, Ronnie's got the arsenal: fastball, changeup, curve. And to righties, they're going to have to really battle this guy tonight. He's got a .199 batting average against righties, and he's the second youngest since White or Blue to be an A's all-star.
Throws a strike to Scott Pasednik. Scott 1 for 4 and scored the only run for the Royals last night, and that came in the bottom of the first inning. The Royals tied the game at 1 in the bottom of the first, didn't score again, and the A's went on to score 4 more. And Scott not so sure about that call from home plate umpire Larry Vanover. He's down 0-2. Running up like he was going to slash, and he takes inside.
But he's really got to be careful with that slash. And then you look at this pitch here, right at the top of the strike zone. It was a pitch that with 2 strikes, Scotty can't afford to take.
And now he takes a breaking ball and strikes out. And Cahill, who's a sinker ball pitcher, Frank, that pitch that Scott wasn't happy about. I mean, that's where you want Cahill to be pitching.
Well, the sinker ball, you definitely want him up.
And now Jason Kendall, 1 for 4 last night. He's hit safely in 15 of his last 16 games. And the former A's catcher takes outside. The Royals faced Cahill twice last year, and Cahill beat the Royals both times. Gave up 5 runs in a combined 11 innings. The Royals did hit 3 home runs against him. Missed the corner, and it's 2-0 to Kendall. I asked Jason before the game if he has any special precautions on nights like tonight to stay cool and fight the heat. Most people would agree that the catcher probably experiences the heat the most. He doesn't get to move around. He's crouched down with the catching gear on, and he said, no, not really, just drink some water. Which, now that I think about it, that's the answer I expected to get from him.
Well, with the batting cages right behind home plate, right behind the dugout that are air conditioned, I'm sure that they duck in there just a little bit. I imagine the starting pitcher also will take a little, maybe an out or 2 in there before they come back out again.
Mason takes a 1-out walk. Here are the A's defensively. Brought to you by Suzuki, Davis, Crisp, and Carson in the outfield. Kuzminov, Pennington, Rosales, and Barton around the horn. And Kurt Suzuki is behind the plate. And it's supposed to be a hot one again tomorrow. It's an afternoon game at 1 o'clock, so I figure both of the starting catchers might get tomorrow off because of the heat tonight. Maybe not. Tough night at the plate last night for David DeJesus. 0 for 4, a couple of strikeouts, and he grounded into a double play. David still 8th in the league in hitting at .322.
Yeah, I think I'd be surprised if the catchers don't catch tomorrow. If they do catch tomorrow, I would be. This is severe heat right here. They're gonna lose a lot of weight. They gotta drink a lot of fluid. Davis
coming in to handle the fly ball from DeJesus, and that's the 2nd out.
I was talking to John Watson before the game. I know myself personally, on a night like this, I would lose up to 6 pounds in a ball game. And I asked John, John, when you catch him, how much weight did you lose? He said he'd lose up to 10 pounds. Wow. In catching a game in this heat.
Not tonight.
No, he said, thank God I'm not in the seats tonight.
Kicking back tonight with a little bit of air conditioning, maybe a cold beverage by his side. Kendall takes off, and he is safe at second base. So Cahill not thinking about him with 2 outs and Billy Butler at the plate. And Jason picks up his 6th stolen base.
And that's what Jason does. He basically looks and tries to take advantage of certain guys. Even though his percentage is not good, he still looks to take advantage of guys in certain situations.
And here's what we talked about at the top of the show, that maybe the Royals would be using the running game more to help produce runs. Royals had 17 stolen bases in their first 12 games this year, and we knew they wouldn't keep up that pace, but we felt like maybe they were setting the tone for the rest of the year. More aggressive on the base pass and force the issue with the defense.
Yeah, two types of teams here. The A's and the Royals are playing similar baseball on offense. Not a lot of home runs, but they do have the ability to steal some bases and hit and run a lot, get some guys in motion. And I think if they're going to increase that run production, they got to do a little bit more of that in the second half of the season.
Billy 1 out of 4 last night. It dropped him down to 321. So for the first time in a long time, Billy is not in the top 10 in the American League in batting average. Off of Cahill's glove, but deflected to Pennington. And Billy is out, and so are the Royals in the bottom of the first. Tonight, and here's Joel.
Ryan, plenty of Kansas City A's history at the Royals Hall of Fame, and this chronicling some of it. It's now official. Kansas City has gone major league, and a lot of information about the A's here. Team pictures from 62 and 63. And then how about this? A few former Kansas City A's that went on to good managing careers. Tommy Lasorda, Tony La Russa, Dick Hauser, and at the bottom, it says never a dull moment. There's a picture of sheep grazing behind the right field fence, and then Charlie Finley riding the team mascot, Charlie O. Let's go back upstairs to you guys in the booth.
You know,
thanks, Joel.
You know, Joel, that hill where the sheep was grazing had a name. They used to call it Lamb Chop Hill. And then the mule would come on the field and ride around. So that was Charlie O's favorite mule.
Frank, sheep grazing at a major league ballpark, your thoughts?
At the time, being a young guy, I didn't know any better. I'm from Kansas City, remember? we were still considered kind of country at that point.
That's maybe where Howard Cosell was coming from when he called this a cow town.
That was before they put the Fellowship of Christian Athletes building across the street, and cattle used to graze up on that hill, and that's where Howard got that from.
Pennington is out on strikes. Bruce Chen actually began the top of the first inning getting a pop-up from Coco Chris, but then the next 4 reached, and the A's scored 3. So Bruce has struck out 2, and now Coco, who popped out to first. Coco had a very interesting night at the plate last night. Officially 1 for 5 with a couple of runs scored, but he was quick to point out that he was given a double after it was first ruled foul. Drives this into left field. Scott Posednik is there to make the catch. So he almost had to go back to the plate. 2 balls, 2 strikes against Zach Greinke. If if this stayed a foul ball, but the umpires got together and ruled it a double. So he was in some ways given a double. Then later in the game, he thought he had grounded into a double play, but then Zach Greinke's throw to second base was dropped by Unievsky Vedcourt. And then later in the game, he thought he had grounded into a double play again, but Joakim Soria had been called for a balk before the pitch had been thrown. So he said, yeah, the box score says I was 1 for 5, but I feel like I was 1 for 7. Derek Barton into center field, so he has 2 hits. And the A's have a runner at first with 1 out. Here's our first look at Fox Tracks, brought to you by Chevy.
Bruce has really got to work hard trying to get back down in the zone where he's more effective. Right now, this ball right in the center of the plate, and Barton hit it right back through the middle. So it's all about location for Bruce Chen right at this point.
And now Kurt Suzuki, who singled and scored in the 3-run first. And he takes over the inside corner. With 1 out in the first inning, Barton doubled, Suzuki singled, Kuzminov doubled in 2, Rosales singled in 1. And then with 2 outs, a double from Matt Carson. So 3 runs on 5 hits in the first inning. That's a nice little device. Towards right center to Jesus, running across center field to make the play, and the A's are scoreless in the second inning. With the nation's fastest 3G network, AT. Rethink possible. By Panera Bread, explore a menu of hearty soups, salads, sandwiches, and breakfast items at Panera Bread. And by Chevrolet, come see for yourself why 1,000 people a day are switching to Chevy. A's with 3 in the top of the first inning. The Royals will have Jose Guillen, Alberto Callaspo, and Mitch Meyer in the second against Trevor Cahill. Heat index of 106 at first pitch. Guillen 0 for 3 with a walk last night. And Cahill's slow curveball is in for a strike. That curveball struck out Scott Podsednik in the first inning. Kuzminov coming in at third has plenty of time. And Guillen is out, number 1. So Trevor Cahill going for his 10th win tonight. That would match his win total from last year. Told you he was named to the American League All-Star team, but because of a new rule, if a pitcher starts on Sunday before the All-Star break, he is immediately ineligible to pitch in the game. So he participated in the festivities, but wasn't allowed to pitch. Jared Weaver of the Angels had the same situation. Aspo lines it to center field. After getting 2 hits last night, he's 1 for 1 tonight.
I think a lot of hitters can be as quiet as Alberto Aspo at the plate and see the ball to the last minute and trust his hands to work. They'd be having a lot more success like he does. He does a good job of hitting the ball where it's pitched, and KO got that pitch up, and he paid for it.
Cahill is not a power pitcher, and he's not a big strikeout pitcher, but at the same time, he doesn't give up many hits. I mean, normally guys who sink the ball and throw a lot of strikes are going to give up their share of hits, but opponent's batting average against him was .206. That's the second best in the American League.
He really relies on his fastball to sink, the pitch that Jose Guillen hit to beat it in the ground. That's kind of what he relies on. He just doesn't want to get the ball up.
And another base hit into center field. This one from Mitch Meyer. Gets away from Coco Crisp. And both runners will move up. So that's a big break. Instead of first and second, 1 out. Now 2 runners in scoring position with 1 out.
No, this is Coco coming in, right, and we know for a fact that he doesn't really have much of a throwing arm, especially after his surgery. Now this is on the hit by Castro to center field, and then following this is Mitch. We just lost track of the ball. Didn't know where it was, but once he picks it up and he really tries to throw the ball hard, and he really just can't get it done. So this is one of those automatic things that the Royals should do on balls hit to center field is go first and third. You know, you have to force him to throw you out.
Had surgery on both shoulders last year while he was with the Royals. So 2 in scoring position for Mike Aviles, who was hoping to break out of an 0 for 13 right here. And he's ahead in the count, 2 balls and no strikes. By going 0 for 4 last night, Aviles, for the first time in a long time, has his batting average drop below 300. He's at 299. 3 balls, no strikes.
Now this is where Mike has really got to be careful. If he's hitting 3-0, he's got to really get a pitch he knows he can drive to the outfield. Otherwise, he's going to have to take it.
Over the inside, 3 balls, 1 strike. Bases are loaded with 1 out. And out comes pitching coach Kurt Young. So before Cahill goes after Betancourt with the bases loaded, 1 out. A's pitching coach, the former A's pitcher, Kurt Young, out to talk with him. Kurt Young spent 1 year in Kansas City. That was in 1992. And he said today that even though he was with the Royals for a short time, he really enjoyed it. After all of those years of pitching against George Brett, it was nice to play with him for a change.
So that's a left-hander throwing to a left-hander.
So here's Betancourt, who has the only grand slam the Royals have this year. And he has Callaspo at third, Meyer at second, and Aviles at first with the Royals down 3-0 in the second inning.
Just be patient.
Inside ball one. This was back on May the 28th against Tim Wakefield at Fenway Park in Boston.
What a place to hit a grand slam. I think anytime's a great time to hit a grand slam.
Cahill falls behind 2-0. Maybe that statement coming from the man, I believe, who leads his franchise in grand slams.
A whopping 6.
Hey, that's 6 more than the entire television crew combined.
That's the one thing that Unity really got to work hard on when he gets in these situations, driving runs, is making sure that he can be patient enough to get a pitch that he can handle. This zone is middle end, down a little bit, and just make sure he gets his pitch until he gets to 2 strikes.
Cahill trying to keep everything down and get a ground ball double play. That stayed up, and it's into deep left field. Back goes Davis, and Betancourt does it again. Now the Royals lead by 1, and Posednik drives it past Coco Crisp, who is playing shallow. And Posednik wants 3 with 1 out. He is in there.
You know, Coco Crisp is playing shallow in center field, and Scott Posednik takes his fastball out over the plate and really splits the left and center field. It goes all the way to the wall. And with Coco picking his ball up in left center field, you got to challenge that throw, and he did a good job of getting into third base.
Scott Posednik safe at third base, safe and secure. New York life. A's bring the infield in for Jason Kendall, and he takes a curveball for a strike. So the air really helps set up the inning. With runners at second and third with 1 out. Then the walk to Aviles. Betancourt with a grand slam, and now runner at third, 1 out. And the Royals can make this a 5-run inning. Kendall walked and stole a base in the first. One ball, 2 strikes. Seeing some extra base hits tonight. 10 hits total already, and we're not even done with 2 innings. Center field, and the Royals are going to take a 5-3 lead. So Kendall with the sacrifice fly drives in his 31st of the year. Kendall drives in 1 after Betancourt drove in 4.
Well, we talked about his hot zone. His hot zone is middle end and a little bit down, and he did a good job of taking this pitch and driving it into left center field. Actually in the bullpen.
Now ball 1 to David DeJesus. David flied to left in the first inning. Now 0 for his last 9. Ball, 1 strike. So anyway, last night the 2 teams combining for 14 hits, but 11 were singles. And we have 10 hits tonight, and half of them have been for extra base hits. 2-1 on to Jesus. Three and one. You Call It, presented by Sprint, who will finish with the most base hits this year. And here are the three with over 100. Text 432-432, enter keyword Royals, followed by a space, A for Pasednik, B for DeJesus, and C for Butler. David loses the bat. 3 balls, 2 strikes. And when he loses the bat, it's almost to the exact same spot every time. Off to the first base side. And depending on how far back the dugout is, it's either in front of the dugout, in the dugout, or if the dugout is closer, it's into the seats. That right there is the best case scenario.
Had to wipe the front row out in a hurry. The guys were really scuffling trying to get out of the way.
He has very good command of that bat throw. I mean, he stays in the same zone. Now he rolls it to second base. And Rosales will throw him out. But the Royals hang a 5 on the scoreboard. 4 on Betancourt's grand slam. Missouri basketball coach Mike Anderson, we had some fireworks.
Boy, I tell you what, it's like fast break baseball. I mean, all of a sudden the A's score in the first inning, and boy, you could sense something was going to take place for the Warriors. And bases loaded. Wow, it's out of here.
It all kind of starts with pitchers pitching behind.
Well, you get behind.
They pitch behind. The hitters get the better hitters, and they took advantage of it.
Well, I tell you what, that's great to see. Great atmosphere. My first time here at the ballpark.
Really?
Oh, what a great atmosphere.
Bruce Chen now pitching with the lead, gets an out on one pitch as Kevin Kuzminoff pops out. So your first time here at Kauffman Stadium, but you follow the MU Tigers baseball team. Did you grow up a baseball fan?
Well, I actually played a little bit, and but basketball kind of I think got the best of me, and so I put that up my sophomore year. And but I follow baseball. I mean, pretty much I like all athletic sports, football, you name it, I follow.
Adam Rosales takes a strike from Bruce Chen. Well, not only are you tonight, I think I saw Truman walking around the ballpark tonight. Was Truman hanging out with Royals mascot Slugger? I thought I saw him.
Yeah, he was.
This would be a rough night for a mascot.
Boy. Yeah, old Truman, he gets around.
Well, Frank, I know even though Coach Anderson hasn't been here before, you for many years, being from Kansas City, and I know myself going on Royals caravans for 12 years, I've made my way through Columbia and seen A lot of Tiger basketball games.
A lot of basketball games. We usually meet up with the Cardinals. We have a little friendly rivalry there at Columbia. They come from their side. We meet up to sign autographs for the fans before basketball games. A lot of fun.
Well, great. I tell you what, we've got a great atmosphere going on there in Columbia. Something special brewing there as well, and I'm excited to be leading the charge in the basketball department.
Well, we were kind of worried about you guys leaving there for a while.
Well, a lot of talk. They tried to shake us, but they didn't break us in terms of the Big 12, and I think hopefully we'll come back stronger. I think it's going to be continue to be a tremendous league.
Outstanding.
So is this the recruiting time of year for you?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's full blast in July. We're all over the country in terms of trying to evaluate kids, and there's a dead period for about 3 or 4 days. So I was able to come down here and come and watch the Royals play today. Played a little round of golf this morning, hit it everywhere, and some great shots, some not so great shots. But I tell you what, you guys see that pitch I did right before the game? I think I threw a strike.
I heard the people cheering.
Well, I'll tell you what, I put a little pop to it.
Well, we're going to take a look at it.
Yeah, let's see.
That's scary.
Oh, yeah, a little movement as well.
Yeah, a little curve drop, I think.
So for the benefit of Tiger fans that are watching tonight, what are you looking for this year as you hit the recruiting trail?
Well, we have one senior in Justin Safford, so I think it's going to be key for us to try to find that selected guy this year. And then I think the following year we have 6 seniors with Kimmy English and Marcus Dedman, Steve Moore, Lawrence Bowers, that bunch. So I think we got a great foundation, and I think we're going in the right direction. And with big recruiting classes, you always want to get better. This year on paper, we have a pretty good recruiting class. You never know until they play, so I kind of hold out reserve on that there, and we'll see as we get prepared for this year. But I'm excited about what's taking place.
0-2 on Carson as Bruce Chen trying to string together a couple of scoreless innings after giving up 3 in the top of the first. The Royals getting 5 in the bottom of the second inning, and we're visiting with Mike Anderson up here in the booth. MU men's head basketball coach enjoying his first visit to Kauffman Stadium.
Well, Coach, you play a pretty up-tempo game. You know, your guys are just nonstop moving. Is that the way you played when you played in college?
Well, it's amazing. When I played for Nolan Richardson at the University of Tulsa, we averaged like 96 points a game back in, you're talking about in 1981, 82. And I don't think we were playing as nearly as fast as our team was playing.
Coach, thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoy the rest of the game.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. Enjoy.
All right. MU head basketball coach Mike Anderson as the Royals lead 5-3 to the middle of the third.
As usual.
Head for the Cure 5K run and walk, who leads team Guy Groninger in memory of his uncle. Phil's commitment to the walk has helped Head for the Cure raise nearly $1 million to help find a cure for brain cancer. And tonight, watching the game in the Buck O'Neil legacy seat right behind home plate, enjoying the Royals' 5-3 lead. A's getting 3 in the first inning. The Royals 5 in the second. 4 on a grand slam from Yuniesky Betancourt. No balls, 2 strikes to Billy Butler. Grounded out to end the bottom of the first inning. Jose Guillen after him, and then Alberto Callaspo. For the Royals, getting to a good pitcher who is pitching very well lately. Trevor Cahill's overall record is 9-3, but in his last 11 starts, 8-1 with an ERA under 3. Royals get him for 5 in the second inning. And now Billy hits it hard to third. And Kuzminov, who had a record-breaking year at second base, or third base rather, for the Padres last year, throws him out. Still 1 away. Tomorrow for the 1 o'clock game, the first 8,000 fans age 14 and under will receive a Billy Butler Youth Replica Bat presented by Fox Sports Kansas City. If you'd like to get your tickets right now, go to Royals.com or call 1-800-6-ROYALS. And Brian Bannister, who pitches so well during the day, will start for the Royals tomorrow as Jose Guillen is thrown out by Cahill. Jose is 0 for 2. And now Alberto Callaspo, he got the rally started with a 1-out single. Alberto, who struggled at the end of the first half leading up to the break, had 2 hits last night, a hit and a run scored tonight. That's probably no surprise to the A's. He had almost 400 against the A's last year with 8 RBIs. And Cahill's curveball is in for strike 1. Way inside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Cahill, a second-round pick of the A's back in 2006. And we're talking about Bruce Chen getting strep throat. Well, when Cahill was a senior in high school, he had strep throat. The last 2 months of his season didn't pitch much, so he dropped down to the second round. He's lost the grip on the last 2 pitches. He was mostly a shortstop in high school, really didn't pitch full time until his senior season. So with his illness and his first full year as a pitcher, some teams didn't want to take him in the first round, so the A's took care of him in the second round. Ground ball is smothered by Barton. He's back to the bag, and Cahill gets 3 ground balls to get out of the third inning. Some drove in on a Harley Davidson, some driving out with a grand slam. Unievsky Betancourt in a 5-run bottom of the second inning. The Royals coming back from being down 3-0. And the first 20,000 fans getting a KC retro cap. And when we say KC retro cap, we're not talking about an old Royals cap. That's the old Kansas City A's cap. They did not turn to green and gold immediately after coming to Kansas City. Originally their primary color was blue, right?
Red and blue. I'm not sure. Check on the year. Maybe 63, maybe 64 when it went to the Kelly green and gold.
Rajai Davis is out. He is 0 for 2 tonight. Tonight's Roadrunner Turbo speed pitch comparison. 95 for Cahill, 91 for Chen. You can double your speed with Roadrunner Turbo from Time Warner Cable. Outside and ball 1 on Cliff Pennington. Five out of the first 7 A's reached against Bruce Chen, and 3 of them scoring. All of that in the first inning, but now Bruce has retired 8 of 10. So in some ways similar to Zach Greinke, who had a rough go of it the first 3 innings, but then Zach finished retiring 9 of 10. Now 1 ball, 2 strikes on Pennington, and Bruce struck him out in the second inning.
That was a much better curveball from Bruce Chen also. Maybe just getting the ring rust off, and just starting to settle down.
Bruce with 4 strikeouts, hasn't walked anyone. The A's have 7 hits, but 5 of those were in the first inning. 2-2. In the air to left center field. Scott Posednik brings it down, 2 away in the 4th.
Right now, Bruce is really kind of settling down. Ryan still doesn't have total command of the strike zone in terms of high and low. And this pitch really was a hittable pitch, but he got it on the end of the bat and got a lazy fly ball to left field.
Ball 1 to Coco Crisp, 0 for 2 at the plate. And while Unievsky Betancourt had the big hit in the 5-run second inning, Coco Crisp made a critical error in center field, which helped set the inning up.
Well, these are the throws that he tried to make. This is one they just buried right down in the ground, and this was on Mitch Meyer, where he just really lost the ball after he hit his glove, and then Mitch was able to go all the way to second base on that. And this is a tag-up play. It just doesn't have the arm strength to really combat anything that goes on in the outfield. So that's an area that the Royals can definitely exploit.
Grounds it to first. Billy backs up for a big hop. Chen to the bag, and down go the A's in order. Bottom of the fourth, 5-3 Royals. Let's go back out to the Hall of Fame, and here's Joel.
Ryan, Kansas City found out it was getting the A's in November 1954. How about the transformation? This was Blues Stadium then. They had 6 months to get it to Municipal Stadium when it was ready for play in April of 1955. Another interesting note on the stadium, the Beatles actually played here. And you see the ticket, green and gold, everything. The stage, it was all in green and gold. They weren't supposed to come here. Charlie Finley called. They said, no, it's not on the tour. We're not coming here on our off day. And Charlie said, oh, yes, you are, and I'll give you $150,000, which was unprecedented to do so, and the Beatles played in Kansas City. Guys?
Wow. So among other claims to fame, Charlie Finley, one of the few that can say that he bossed the Beatles around. Mitch Meyer down on 3 pitches. Cahill strikes out his second. Great. Oh, yes, you are, Ringo.
Yeah, all it takes is money. You know, he was a great innovator. I remember in 1972, he tried to come up with the idea of the orange baseball. And we were playing in Birmingham, Alabama, that AA team, and we tried it that night. The biggest thing is you just couldn't see the seams on the ball. But you can see the ball okay, but just couldn't see the spin off the pitcher's hand.
Fouled off the bat of Mike Aviles, who walked and scored in the Royals' 5-run second inning. Well, what color were the seams if the ball
they were black,
was orange?
Black seams.
Okay.
And that's probably, maybe white seams might have made a difference. I don't know.
And what, the orange ball was going to be easier to see in night games with poor lighting?
That was the thinking.
Okay. Rosales to the middle, stumbled a little bit, but throws out Aviles. 2 down in the 4th inning. Well, with the heat here tonight, I would think it'd be a tough night for the Hot Dog Derby. Coming up on Tuesday night, the first 20,000 fans receive a Hot Dog Derby t-shirt presented by Farmland Foods. And that is t-shirt number 5 out of 7 this year. So get your tickets now to add to your collection. Yuniesky Betancourt takes ball 1. Uni hit a grand slam with 1 out in the 2nd inning. The Royals scored 5 in the inning. It was Betancourt's 2nd grand slam of the year. Pennington out from short to retire Uni. And Cahill needs only 7 pitches to get through the 4th. Down 3-0 at the end of a half inning, getting 5 in the 2nd inning.
Well, Ryan really just taking advantage of Trevor Cahill. We got a little wild and got some pitches up and finally worked himself into a bases loaded situation. And Betancourt had the hitting advantage, and he left the pitch at middle end, and Yuniesky turned on it, and the grand slam put the Royals up by 1. And then they scored another run in the inning, and they were off from there. And Bruce Chin, after that home run, after those 5 runs, seemed to settle down a little bit.
And you know that feels good for Betancourt. It was his error last night that led to 3 unearned runs. So if he receives the throw from Zach Greinke on what could have been a double play, well, it's a 2-1 game going into the 9th inning, not a 5-1 game. And he drives in 4 with 1 swing tonight.
I walked by him today, Ryan, and he looked at me and says, "Get 1 before you get 2."
Derek Barton with 2 hits, and he scored in the A's 3-run first inning. In the air to left field, Posednik's been busy tonight, and Barton is out for the first time. So Bruce has retired 11 out of the last 13 after 5 of the first 7 reached. And with 1 out, it's Kurt Suzuki who singled and scored in the 3-run first, and he is flied to center field. Talked about it last night. The A's currently have 9 players on the disabled list, and at no point this season have they had fewer than 5 at a time. And Suzuki has spent some time on the DL, strained his right side at the end of April. Betancourt to the middle, throws off balance, but right on target to Billy Butler for the 2nd out. Pretty even tonight, and the You Call It presented by Sprint, who will finish with the most base hits. Right now 38%, going with Billy Butler, who is tied with David DeJesus at 107. Scott Posednik with 103. It was the first time since 2000 Royals had 3 100-hit men before the All-Star break. Ball 1 to Kuzminoff. He had a 2-run double, and then he scored in the A's 3-run first inning. He's 1 for 2. One and 1. The A's going out and getting Kevin Kuzminoff from the San Diego Padres when it was pretty clear that Eric Chavez's days were over as a third baseman. Chavez has played some games this year for the A's at first, but still having problems. And he's on the disabled list with a neck injury. Hit hard to Betancourt at short, and Bruce Chen continues to roll along. The Royals have a 2-run lead at the end of 4.5.
Call. Billy Gardner.
Royals by 2 to the bottom of the 5th inning, and it's time for trivia brought to you by AT. Who are the 2 former Royals managers to play for the Kansas City A's? And earlier tonight, when Joel was giving us a tour of the Royals Hall of Fame, he gave us one of them. Frank and I have been working on that since the end of the last half inning. Here's one of the answers. Joel gave us that one. Dick Hauser. 2 balls, no strikes on Scott Posednik. So it all began with Joe Gordon. And now it's just 1 year, right?
Then Charlie Metro. I think Bob Lemon might have been after him.
Jack McKeon.
Whitey. Jim Fry.
Dick Hauser,
Mike Ferrero. Then you had Billy Gardner, John Wampin, Helmut Ray,
Bob Boone, Tony Muser.
I think these guys are probably a little too young.
Maybe it's one of those trick questions. Maybe it's one of the interim guys. How about Bob Schaefer?
That's a heck of a guess there.
3-1 on Posednik. He tripled and scored the 5th and final run in the Royals' 5-run 2nd inning. He has also struck out tonight. Count is full, 3-2. I think we named just about everyone, didn't we? Buddy Bell. We didn't mention Buddy Bell. I don't think Tony Pena played for the Kansas City A's. Over the inside, and that's strikeout number 3 for Cahill, and the second time he has gotten Posednik. Taco Bell will show us the location on that last pitch. Cahill kind of all over the place before the 3-2 pitch.
Just got it from good run. He threw it right at the belt, and Posednik gave in on it, and the ball ran back out over the plate, got the inside corner.
Jason Kendall walked in the 1st inning, stole a base, and then in the 2nd inning, a sac fly, driving in Scott Posednik for the 5th and final run. Down, no balls, 2 strikes. Well, I think we've named everyone, haven't we?
Except for Trey Hillman and Ned Yost.
I'm going to say Bob Schaefer. Who are you going to go with?
I'm going to stay with you on that one.
Whitey Herzog. Oh, that's right. Knew that. Whitey lived in Kansas City. Kuzmanov dives, can't make the play. Pennington throws out Kendall for the 2nd out.
I just don't remember him playing for the A's. I remember him with the Yankees in the Yankees minor league system. One that got by me. Well, he was a backup guy, so.
Whoa!
That's what he used to. He used to talk about that all the time. He's the only guy that I know that kept track of his batting practice home runs throughout his career.
Really? David 0 for 2 tonight, and now 0 for his last 10. That drops him down to 320, but he has been flawless on defense this year. Tonight's league leaders brought to you by your Kansas City area Toyota dealers. The longest current errorless streaks in Major League Baseball, and David DeJesus way out in front of Brian Ludwig. David, a couple of weeks ago, trailed Jason Bay and Randy Wynn, who both committed an error on the same day. Puts David out in front, working on consecutive errorless game number 237 tonight, and trying to do so playing center field, his natural position, after playing most of this year in right. 2 balls, 2 strikes. David into right field, deep. Back goes Carson, and he's there to make the catch in front of the track. And now all of a sudden, Cahill's retired 11 in a row. By Bluebell Ice Cream. Sweeten your summer with your favorite Bluebell flavor. Pick some up today. And by the Mitsubishi Lancer. All 8 runs were scored in the first 2 innings. And now Bruce Chen and Trevor Cahill have settled in. Adam Rosales will lead off and takes ball 1. Cahill has retired the last 11. And Bruce Chen has retired 13 of the last 15. After Bruce gave up 3 in the first, Cahill gave up 5 in the second. Deep short, long throw Betancourt, and he launches it over Billy Butler. It ricochets off the netting. Jason Kendall is there. So his hustle keeps Rosales at first base. And Rosales will get an infield single.
But it gets pitch in on Rosales, and right back Aspel playing in at third base, and you only had one choice, that's to get it and get rid of it. But if he gets the ball down, it's a much closer play, but he's just fortunate this ball didn't go into the camera bay.
Mark Ellis has struck out and singled into center field, and he's after the first pitch and pops it into center field. David DeJesus now playing in the shadows, so that'll make it a little more comfortable out there for the outfielders. And there is one away. In College Night is coming up here at Kauffman Stadium on Wednesday, July 21st. It's actually a day game against Toronto. College Night offers select tickets for high school and college students with a valid ID for just $7, plus food and beverage specials in the outfield plaza concession areas. That'll be the final game of the homestand. The Royals will play 3 against the A's, 3 against the Blue Jays. We'll go to New York for 4 and come right back home. Matt Carson hit his first major league double in the first inning, and then Bruce struck him out in the third. Left center field, and David DeJesus is there, 2 down, and Rosales is back to first. Tonight's copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Kansas City Royals. They may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Corporation. Ryan Lefebvre with Frank White And Joel Goldberg with producer Kevin Shank, director Steve Kurtenbach, associate producers Al Broughton and Sam Abramson, and the producer of Royals Live is Jeff Graham. On a hot, hot night in Kansas City. 92 degrees at first pitch, but the heat index at 106. So there was no passing thunderstorm right before the game tonight to cool things down like we had last night. The only thing that has helped cool things down is the sun setting, which has put most of the ballpark in the shadows. So the only folks dealing with the sun now are out in the Pepsi party porch and the outfield experience in right field and right center field. (2-0) on Rajai Davis, who's flied out to right field and grounded out to third. So trying to watch the game out there, and hopefully she continues to look straight and not to her right. That's an interesting pose, isn't it? Excuse me, sir. Sir, would you please put your shirt back on? Thank you very much. A 4-pitch walk to Davis, and that's Bruce Chen's first walk. Royals had Kaneko Teixeira warming up in the top of the first inning as Bruce gave up 3 runs on 5 hits. The A's have not scored since. And now coming up on 80 pitches. And Blake Wood is just going to start to play catch out in the bullpen. I asked pitching coach Bob McClure, who was out to have a chat with Bruce as we speak, that on a day like today when it's really hot, will you in your mind add maybe 10 pitches to the overall pitch count? So Bruce Chen is at 78. Will you say, well, but as far as the heat goes, I'm going to say he's more like 88 or 90. And he said, actually, no, he doesn't do that. He goes more by pitch location, watches the pitcher's mechanics, and if he sees that maybe the legs are getting tired and the ball is up, that he will use that more as a measuring stick than he will the overall pitch count.
Well, I agree with that. I think that this heat affects everybody a little bit differently, and Bruce coming off sickness and a few days off, you really have to look at the legs, and I think that's why pitchers say without your legs you're just not very good on the mound, and if that's when it starts elevating the pitches, and that's why he probably had the mound visits to kind of check on his overall stamina versus anything else.
No, Bruce hasn't dealt with more than one base runner in an inning since the first inning. He has Rosales at second base, Davis at first, and Cliff Pennington at the plate. And he throws strike one.
Well, this is a good sign right here, Ryan. Nice breaking ball right to where Kendall wanted it. You just didn't want it quite as high. You wanted to go down a little bit more, but the location of the pitch, as far as where Kendall's concerned, was pretty good location.
1 ball, 1 strike. And that's line to left field. So the A's will make it a 1-run game as Rosales comes around to score. Davis goes to third, and Pennington drives in his 28th of the year.
That's another curveball here, Ryan. It just doesn't have that bite that you really want it to have. It did get in on Pennington a little bit, but just didn't have the bite to really keep it from getting a good part of the bat on the ball. Rather than going down, it kind of swooped down into the bat. It's more of a slurve than a good curveball, and he was able to get that base hit.
So So Ned Yost with 2 down in the 6th inning, and a 1-run game will bring on Blake Wood for the top of the order. Chevy called to the bullpen. Royals lead by 1 in the 6th. Go back to where he was in the 1st inning with the A's scoring 3 and the Royals warming up in the bullpen. He gets the game to the 6th, and Blake Wood with 2 on, 2 out will get Coco Crisp in a 1-run game. And this is the first time in 7 days that Blake Wood has been on the mound. Coco Crisp is 0 for 3 so far tonight. And he'll move over to the left side of the plate. So Rajai Davis is at 3rd base. Cliff Pennington at 1st. Pennington's single just drove in Adam Rosales. Crisp is popped to 1st, flied to left, and grounded out to 1st. Pennington takes off. Kendall isn't going to even attempt to throw. So that puts another runner in scoring position and eliminates a force out at 2nd base. And that is a stolen base for Pennington. So even though the Royals more or less let him go, the official score will give him a stolen base. And Crisp lifts it into left center field. DeJesus and Pasednik are there. DeJesus makes the catch, so the A's get just 1 in the 6th, but they make it a 1-run game. Class public art and beautiful landscaping in a downtown setting. The St. Louis City Garden is unique among cultural attractions throughout the country. Here you'll find fountains, beautiful lighting, a cafe with outdoor seating, and world-class sculptures by internationally renowned artists. Go to visitmo.com to start planning your next Missouri getaway. Well, with a hot day in Kansas City on a Saturday, a good day to go get that summer haircut, or you can get that.
Wow.
Kids these days, Frank.
Or parents these days.
Well, you know, you never know.
He definitely sleeps on one side or the other.
You know, his parents are going to be about my age, maybe a little bit older, and they may have come from the punk rock era. They might have had a haircut like that one day. Low throw, great stretch by Barton. The Royals think that Billy Butler was safe. Billy's upset. Rusty Kuntz is upset with first base umpire Jeff Kellogg. And now manager Ned Yost is going to go out and talk to Jeff Kellogg. Well, close, but looked like the right call.
Well, are we going to get them together? That was a nice scoop in the dirt by Barton. He's done a great job at first base. I mean, he really gets out there and really helps those balls in the dirt and those low throws. And you don't see that much in a first baseman.
And that's a guy who's had hip surgery a couple years ago. So Trevor Cahill has retired 12 in a row. And his curveball is in for a strike to Jose Guillen. Jose has grounded out twice to third base and to the mound. He has not gotten a good swing yet against Cahill tonight. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Yeah, he's got to feel kind of cheated tonight. So, I mean, he beat 1 ball in the ground at third base, and then he beat 1 ball in the ground right back to the pitcher. I mean, just healthy swings, but just hitting the top of the ball.
All 5 runs the Royals scored tonight came in 1 inning in the second. Just missed high and away, 2 balls, 2 strikes. And 4 of the 5 on 1 swing. Yuniesky Betancourt's second grand slam of the year. And again, Guillen with a mammoth swing, but produces a mouse. Remember, fans, this season it's easier than ever to find the seats you want or sell the tickets to the games you can't make on StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Kansas City Royals. You'll find great seats and great service on StubHub all season. So go to StubHub.com and choose your seats today. Sombreros not included. Strike 2, Alberto Callaspo with 1 out, and the Royals down 3-0 in the second inning. Callaspo singled, and that was the beginning of a 5-run inning. And as Bob Uecker said in the movie Major League, just a bit outside.
Looked like a curveball that just wouldn't come back home. Went around the corner, but didn't come back.
And that will happen quite a bit on nights like tonight with all the perspiration on a pitcher's hand. Now 1 ball, 2 strikes on Callaspo.
I'm surprised they don't use more rosin. You know, this is a good rosin night. I mean, this is when you see pitchers put it all up to the elbow sometimes just to try to stay dry. A lot of guys used to wear the wristbands back when I played, and the wristband served as that little towel they use to wipe your brow. But you don't see many players wear wristbands anymore.
Dusty Baker still wears his wristbands.
If Bobby Valentine was managing, he'd have 2 wristbands on too. He even had eye black on one.
Rosales throws out Callaspo. Now Cahill has retired 14 in a row. Three on 5 hits in the top of the first inning. But the Royals got 5 in the bottom of the second. Yuniesky Betancourt with his second grand slam of the year. The A's getting a run in the 6th against Bruce Chen to make it a 1-run game. Bruce out after 5 2/3 innings. Gave up 4 earned runs.
Come on, Chen!
So Bruce is not only popular in the clubhouse and among fans in Kansas City as he continues to pitch well out of the rotation, but he's also well liked by the lovable mule, Charlie, who's here tonight. Fans can have their pictures taken with Charlie. Have a nice chat with them if they'd like. Derek Barton has 2 hits and a run scored. Lines it to left field. And Posednik reaching, can't get it. He goes down. And Barton will hold at second base with a double. So in some ways, that's a break for the Royals that wasn't a faster runner. So Barton, who is just 2 for his last 29, has 3 hits tonight. And the tying run is at second with nobody out.
He does a good job staying on this pitch, Ryan, and just drives it to left field. And I don't know if Scotty saw this ball right away, but tried to make up some ground in a hurry and lost. Once you reach for that fly ball, he just kind of lost a step, and that's what caused him to go down. He was able to hustle up and get it and hold Barton to a double.
Now the A's are a little concerned about Barton. So manager Bob Guerin with the A's trainer going to go out and make sure he's all right. And Barton doesn't wait for them to get to him. He meets them halfway between second and third. This was the swing before the double.
Oh, looks like a cramp maybe.
Remember, Barton last night appeared to injure his left wrist on a ground ball by Yuniesky Betancourt. The throw was to the inside part of the bag, and Barton was hurting after that collision and now grabbing the back of his leg.
Well, they've been doing some pretty serious stretching over there at first base, too. So this is one of those days where you catch a cramp pretty easily in this heat. Now, after that swing, the way he grabbed it, it almost like it caught, then released pretty quickly. But you can see his uniform is just drenched.
And if I can read lips correctly, he was telling Unievsky Betancourt it's tight. So he's trying to do everything he can to loosen up, and he's even stretching now as he goes into his lead. Well, Kurt Suzuki will at least try and get him over to third base. Back in the first inning, Suzuki reached with a single. He scored in the A's 3-run first. He's 1 for 3 overall. The A's now have out-hit the Royals 10-4. But thanks to the grand slam, the 4 runs on 1 swing, the Royals are in front by 1 run. Suzuki again trying to hit it to the right side, and he's down, no balls, 2 strikes.
I'm a little surprised that the way he grabbed his hamstring after that swing, and then he had trouble going into second base. And when Bobby Guerin and the trainer went out to see him, I'm surprised they didn't let him, just take a little sprint out to center field. Let's see what the legs feel like, and at least you get a pretty good read on where he's at.
Suzuki strikes out, missed a slider away at 89 miles an hour.
That's a huge strikeout by Blake Wood right here. This ball just stays right off the plate, and Suzuki knows he wants to hit the ball to right field and thinks he's got a chance to get it over there with that pitch, but the ball just kept moving away from him.
Well, maybe Barton was smart enough to know that if they made him run to prove that his leg was all right, that it was going to lock up. So he talked his way out of that.
That's better to know then.
Well, with the sore hamstring or cramped hamstring, he steals third and takes out Alberto Callaspo. How about that? Well, there's the test for the leg.
Well, that's a great test right there. Doesn't get any better than that, Ryan. He goes right away, and Kendall moves back behind the hitter and makes a great throw to Alberto Callaspo, but he stays right in there and got caught sideways and got slid right into. You see how he puts that knee down behind the bag? Now, when Barton comes across, he has nowhere to go but right in Alberto. So you got to try to stay on your feet as much as possible. He just drops that leg and gets caught sideways, and he just came right up on top of the ankle, the calf, everything.
Well, another one of those cases where you tell yourself, when the big man in the sky put the human bodies together, I don't think the ankle was designed to move like that.
No, the knee either.
Royals baseball brought to you tonight by Mercedes-Benz. Experience truly great engineering today at your authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer. So that was a bolt out of the blue. Derek Barton with his sore leg stealing third base, and that's a big play for the A's, and that'll force the Royals to bring the infield in with the count 1 ball, no strikes on Kevin Kuzminoff. And he bloops it into right field. Myers coming up. It's going to drop, and the A's have tied the game at 5 in the 7th inning, and Kevin Kuzminoff has driven in 3 of the 5.
That's a good pitch. He just sort of fought it off, got strong enough to get it out there in the right field, and Mitch came up as hard as he could, but the ball fell in front of him. And Derek Barton, the risky stolen base, he could have locked up halfway, and this run wouldn't have been important to them at all. But he was able to test his leg and prove to everybody that I'm okay to stay in this ballgame. Came in and scored a tying run.
Adam Rosales is coming up. Kyle Farnsworth is warmed up. And in the Chevy car of the bullpen, Farnsworth will get Rosales with a runner at first and 1 out. Farnsworth with a runner at first and one out. You go back to Sunday, the final game before the All-Star break. Kyle Farnsworth allowed 2 runs in the 7th inning. And that was the first time this year he allowed multiple runs in an appearance. So he has been dependable, and especially since Ned Yost took over as manager and reinstated Farnsworth in more meaningful situations. Adam Rosales has 2 hits, an RBI, and a run scored. He has Kevin Kuzminoff at first base. Kuzminoff started to run, stops, and Rosales takes inside. Rosales has made a name for himself the last 2 years. Last season with the Reds and this year with the A's, with perhaps the fastest home run trot in Major League Baseball. I mean, there is no style, there is no showboating, there is nothing slow about it. It is a full-out sprint around the bases.
I'd say he only has one speed, and that's fast. You know, Mike Gallego, the third base coach, tried to slow him down a little bit in filling ground balls and things like that, and he realized that that's how he does everything. So but he said they play great defense and hasn't had a problem, so they just don't worry about it.
Two balls and no strikes. Before delivering that pitch, Farnsworth becoming a little preoccupied with Kuzminoff over at first, who has 1 stolen base this year.
I think what they basically wait to see is if the pitcher pays attention to them and how fast they are to the plate, and that's when they take advantage.
Okay, that's got to go on the list. Rosales is out. His bat is on its way to the morgue, and there are 2 down in the 7th inning.
That's a pretty good saw-off job right there. I mean, I tell you, this ball just jumped right up on his hands, and he couldn't even get nowhere extended. I mean, it's like fighting off with a fly swat right there.
Put it on the list, Sammy. Wow.
And then he comes up, makes a nice, easy play. And that's just, I don't know. That's not really seeing the ball, I don't think.
0-1 on Mark Ellis, the A's second baseman, who's the DH tonight. Singled in the 3rd inning. He is 1 for 3. Kevin Kuzminoff driving in his 3rd run of the game, getting Derek Barton home to tie the game in this inning. The A's have scored 10 runs in the first 2 games, and Kuzminoff has driven in half of them. With Yuniesky Betancourt hitting a grand slam tonight, it reminds me of 2006 when Kevin Kuzminoff, in his big league debut for the Indians, hit a grand slam on the first pitch he saw in the big leagues. Became the first player in Major League history to hit a grand slam on the first pitch thrown to him. How about that start to a big league career?
Get your home run and the RBI. First RBI had away right thing. The first hit, first everything. First run scored.
There's an outfielder with the Red Sox, and the Royals are done with the Red Sox, Daniel Neva. And he tied that this year. Major League record, hit a grand slam on his first big league pitch. Kuzminoff homered the very next day for the Indians. To the grand slam. Right center field, shallow, sprinting in is Meyer, and he makes a sliding catch. A's tie the game. It's stretch time at Kauffman Stadium. around the American League. Cleveland and Detroit playing a doubleheader. Indians take game 1. So the Tigers a game and a half back in the Central. Tampa Bay over New York. Rays are 2 games back in the East. Baltimore is leading Toronto. Minnesota beats Chicago, so Minnesota's 2.5 back. Texas is in front of Boston, and it's the second start for Cliff Lee since joining the Texas Rangers. Trevor Cahill gave up 5 runs in the second inning, 4 on a grand slam from Yuniesky Betancourt, and since then he has retired 14 in a row. The Royals only have hits in the second inning. They got a 1-out walk in the first, then 5 runs on 4 hits in the second, and now Cahill has retired the last 14. Meyer had a key at bat in the 5-run second inning with 1 on 1 out. Meyer singled to center. The ball got away from Coco Crisp in center field. Callaspo went to third. Meyer up to second. Then the walk to Aviles and the grand slam from Betancourt. And the Royals' 5th run coming later in the inning on Jason Kendall's sacrifice fly. Line foul off to the right field side. Popped up, shallow left field. And coming up is Davis. So it's 15 in a row retired by Cahill. And now Mike Aviles. He walked and scored on the Betancourt grand slam, and he's grounded out to second base. Cahill is now at 91 pitches, and they're just starting to get busy in the A's bullpen. We were talking earlier about Bob McClure saying that he doesn't really factor in the heat when he looks at overall pitch count on a night like tonight. It's more the stuff and the pitcher's mechanics. But he said something interesting. We've learned a lot about Ted Simmons since Bob McClure became pitching coach and Ned Yost manager, because both guys are really influenced by Ted Simmons when they were in Milwaukee. And Bob didn't remember the specifics, but Ted Simmons, former catcher, calculated in his mind high pressure situations, and that was a measuring stick for him. Nice play at shortstop by Pennington, and a tough out for Mike Aviles.
Well, Mike really does a good job of squaring this ball up, and as a defensive player, you're only going to get one shot at the line drive, and Pennington timed that jump just perfectly.
Now Yuniesky Betancourt, who had a grand slam in the second inning. He is 1 for 2. And he pulls it foul. No balls, 1 strike. So anyway, Ted Simmons measured in his mind what he called troubles. And there would be a 1/4 trouble, say leadoff man on. A half trouble, 2 on, nobody out. Or a 3/4 trouble, bases loaded, nobody out. And as a catcher, he would add those up in his mind. And when a pitcher reached 3, it was time for him to go. Betancourt into left center field. Going to try for a double on Coco Crisp's arm. And he's in there with 2 down. So a hustling double, and Betancourt has his second extra base hit tonight.
Well, you know, Ryan, this is where the outfielders have to really talk. Roger Davis has got to try to take as many of these balls as he can. And you can't really allow Coco to come up and make a throw if he doesn't have to. But if you can get there, then you want to be the one to take that throw and make that throw in the second base. And you got to give Uni credit for recognizing the situation and really hustling into second base and forcing that single into a double. if you take a look here, and he just comes up, and that's really all you're going to get right there out of Coco Crisp with the 2 surgeries, and he just doesn't have the arm strength, and the Royals have recognized it, and they're taking advantage of it.
Scott Pasednik has a triple and a run scored against Cahill, and the A's would rather pitch to Kendall than Pasednik, and there's an open base to work with, so that allows for a force at any base. Kendall walked in the first inning, hit a sacrifice fly for his 31st RBI in the second, and grounded out in the 5th. Royals trying to score another run this year after an inning begins with 2 outs and nobody on base. And Cahill with a changeup for strike 1. So just to finish the thought, it was interesting that Bob McClure, what he learned from Ted Simmons is it's not necessarily pitch count and the physical effects on the pitcher, but sometimes the emotional effects on the pitcher and how much stress he has to deal with over the course of a game. How worn down is he emotionally, and combining that with how worn down he is physically.
Well, I can see that. And, you know, being the catcher, you have a better idea of when your pitcher's under a lot of stress, more so than the pitching coach and the manager. And you can walk out there anytime, look in his eyes, and see what's going on there. Plus, you have location. If he's missing location, if the ball doesn't have any life, and it doesn't show a lot of confidence, you as a catcher can be the best evaluator in that situation.
Royals didn't have any base runners in innings 3, 4, 5, and 6. And with 2 outs and nobody on in this inning, and Trevor Cahill had retired 16 in a row, a double and an intentional walk. And that just missed outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Kendall.
Well, Cahill's really been trying to work that outer half of the plate down and try to get the ball to run back in and catch the outside corner to the right hand, but that one stayed outside. Well, I know Ted Simmons, whenever Pete Vukovich pitched, I mean, I don't think he had anything to say about Pete, because Pete seemed like he was always in trouble. He threw a lot of pitches in the course of his game.
Well, the Cardinals tried this outfield depth on Jason Kendall earlier this year, and Jason burned them with a line drive to center field, which I think resulted in a 2-run double.
Well, they're really dependent on Cahill to get the ball to the outer half and force Kendall to hit into the defense. And then if he gets the right pitch, he can still split him because they're so shallow. I mean, this might be even closer than what you normally see, especially in right field. Anything line drive over Rosales' head at second base, it's going to go to the wall.
Now, Jason certainly is not a power hitter, but he does have 15 doubles this year. That's not going to put him among the league leaders, but that's still a gamble on a hot night where the ball should carry. Did he go? No. Jeff Kellogg, the umpire at first base. So, with a full count and 2 outs, Betancourt at second, Pasednik at first will get an early break.
Well, by being 3-2, you think they go a little bit more straight up, because now Jason's in a little bit more of a stronger position to hit. You know, Coco Chris got burned by Scott Pasednik by playing in, and when he hit the triple to left center field.
The runners go, and Kendall takes ball 4. The left-hander is warmed up in the A's bullpen, and Bob Guerin with Cahill well over 100 pitches now, and David DeJesus coming up is going to go to the bullpen. So no chance for Cahill to win his 10th. It'll be Jerry Blevins to face DeJesus with the bases loaded. Down 5-3, but he retires 16 in a row before the Royals get a double, an intentional walk, and an unintentional walk. So putting him well over 100 pitches. Jerry Blevins comes on to face David DeJesus with the bases loaded. Royals have seen Blevins 6 times before tonight, and he has not allowed a single run. In fact, just 4 hits in 6 1/3 innings and 7 strikeouts. Royals already have a grand slam tonight. Yuniesky Betancourt in a 5-run second inning in his second grand slam of the year. Jesus takes inside for ball 1.
You know, David's been in a long home run drought. You know, he hadn't hit a home run since June 13th in Cincinnati. Even though he's getting a lot of hits, I noticed he looks like he's choked up a lot more and doesn't have the same length on his bat. That could hurt your ability to drive the ball, but it does give you the ability to have better bat control and get better base hits, more base hits.
2 balls and no strikes. Well, it's been a while since he's hit a home run. It's been a while since David has gotten a hit. He is 0 for his last 11. Tonight he is flying to right, grounded to second, flying to left. Two balls and 1 strike.
Yeah, some of the tough lefties he's faced, he's been able to just stay back and hit the ball down the left field line. That's been one of the places he's been able to go pretty consistently. It's so hard to imagine he's 0 for 11. It seems like he's on the base all the time.
Jammed, and he pulls it foul. David is 1 for 4 against Jerry Blevins before tonight. Royals with 2 outs and nobody on. Got a double from Betancourt, a hustling double on a base hit into left center field, beating the throw from Coco Crisp. The A's intentionally walked Scott Posednik, then Kendall walked, and Blevins into face DeJesus. Curveball popped up. Pennington, the shortstop, is there, and the Royals leave the bases loaded. Tied at 5 at the end of 7. First inning, and the Royals 5 in the second. So 5-3 Royals until the 6th. The A's scored 1 and added another in the 7th to tie it up. Gabe Gross, who started in right field last night and was 0 for 4, is going to pinch hit for Matt Carson. Carson, a right-hand batter, and Bob Guerin will go with the left-hand hitting Gabe Gross. Kyle Farnsworth getting the final 2 outs of the 7th inning in relief of Blake Wood. Just absolutely shattered the bat of Adam Rosales on a soft liner to short, and then got Mark Ellis on a fly ball to right field. Two balls and no strikes. Gabe Gross, a former player under Ned Yost. He was with the Brewers in 2006, 2007, and 2008. And I'm sure if you asked Ned about Gabe Gross and what might stand out in his mind, he'd probably tell you all about the first game that Gabe Gross played for the Brewers. He had a pinch hit home run in his first Milwaukee plate appearance in 2006. Welcome to Milwaukee. That'll make you feel like a part of the team in a hurry.
Right away.
Hit hard to left field. Scott Podsednik is there, and he makes the play. Fox Tracks is brought to you by Quick Trip.
Just on the locations of Kyle's pitches here, Ryan. He's been a little bit all over the place. Better command with his off-speed pitch than with his fastball. But he gets his fastball down, and Gross goes to left field. Hits it good, but he got a little bit more to the plate than he probably wanted to.
So Farnsworth is phase 3, retired 3, and now Rajai Davis. A fly out, a ground out, and a walk.
Maybe we'll try to bunt at times right here, but Farnsworth not really the easiest guy to try to bunt.
Even though it didn't work out for Farnsworth or the Royals when Kyle was trying to make the team as a starter, the effects of him trying to make the team as a starter has really widened his array of pitches. And we're seeing at times the velocity that he's had in years past, but more times than not lower velocity but more movement.
Well, definitely he picked up that 2-seamer, and I think that's been a big difference for him. He grew from 97 to 89, and then a little bit slower breaking ball.
And he really ties up Davis, who can run, and Billy Butler can't pick it out of the dirt. So it's an error on Betancourt, and now the A's have 28 stolen bases at first base with 1 out.
Now, this would be one difference between Derek Barton and Billy Butler right here. Throwing the ball from deep shortstop, may have held onto it a little bit too long, but being able to stretch out there and just pick that short hop out of the dirt. You can see where it just takes time to make sure he gets the right grip, but then he has to rush. So if he goes right through it without having to look at the ball, it might be a little bit better throw to first base.
Betancourt with his 12th error of the year, his 2nd error of the series. Remember last night his error led to 3 unearned runs. Pretty good swing by Pennington, and he fouls it back to the net.
Now the first baseman I'm playing with, they just say get the short hops. First baseman I expect to catch the short hops. In between hops, those are the ones that you will have trouble with. But anytime there's a short hop as an infielder, you expect your first baseman to catch that ball.
.28 stolen bases, and Davis has only been thrown out 5 times.
Now this situation here where you may take Kyle Farnsworth out of his comfort zone. I mean, he might have to try to be quicker to the plate, and that can affect your command. And then next thing you know, the hitter's in a better hitting count and take advantage of it.
Davis started to go. He stopped. Looks like the A's have kind of picked up on what Kyle Farnsworth will do. He will come set, and as he's coming set, he'll turn and fire to first. He doesn't really wait to see if there's a lead. And oftentimes he'll throw to first, and the runner is still on the bag. And Davis is doing what Kuzmanov was doing last inning. Short lead, and then as he comes set, then he goes into his extended lead.
Well, pitching coaches really would prefer the pitcher to wait. You know, come set, wait, let that base runner get out to his maximum lead, and then throw to first. And then you kind of vary it from there. But if you're consistently doing the same thing all the time, then throwing to first is kind of useless at that point.
You figure Davis, who's going to try and steal second base at some point, he's not taking a big lead at all. He's standing right by the bag. Then Farnsworth comes set. Right now his foot is on the bag, comes set. Now he gets off, almost like a moving lead, and he's running as Pennington lines it to left field, and it drops for a base hit. Davis lost the ball. He almost headed back to first base. So he put his head down. He heard contact. The Royals did a good job of disguising where the ball was. And Davis almost started to go back to first.
And Ryan, this is what happens a lot of times with base stealers. Some guys say that you should look, and he did look in, but the ball's already off the bat and gone to left field. But you got to look after those first 3 steps. You got to look in to see what happens with the ball, and now you can go on maybe go on to third base if you read it properly. But he was just caught in no man's land. And you talk to the good base stealers, they say you shouldn't look. But I think you always have that little time to really peek in to see what the hitter does with the ball.
Now the good base stealers will say that, but what will the good base stealing coaches say?
Well, when the guys like Joe Morgan, he's a believer that you shouldn't look. Lou Brock is one of the guys who believes you shouldn't look. They think your main focus should be just on getting to second base. But I wasn't one to want to get hit upside the head with a line drive, so I wanted to look.
So even as a base runner, you always apply rule number 1.
Keep the ball off your lips.
Now Coco Crisp is 4 out of 8 with a home run against Kyle Farnsworth. Now Kyle concerned that Davis might steal third. Even with Davis' speed, Jason Kendall has a little bit of an advantage with Chris batting from the left side. He has an open lane to throw down to third. He doesn't have to try and throw around the batter. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I think the one thing that Kyle Farnsworth needs to continue to do is just various looks, but make sure that you make Roger Davis stop. At first base, he never made him stop. He got the shorter lead, started moving, and as soon as Kyle made a move, he was gone. So you got to make sure that base runner comes to a complete stop before you make that pitch to the plate.
One ball, 2 strikes. Coco 0 for 4 tonight, 1 for 9 in the series. And if you go back over his last 40 at-bats, he has 6 hits. Gabe Gross lined to left field, but then Davis reached on an error by Betancourt, and then Pennington singled. The A's have 12 hits to the Royals 5. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Crisp. Kyle Farnsworth, rather than use the rosin bag on a hot sticky night, is using the dirt of the mound to get rid of some of the moisture on his fingertips. We don't know if Davis is going to take off for third, but if anything, he has divided Kyle's attention.
And I think that's basically what speed does, and that's what you want your speed to do to pitchers. You want to take them out of the game and take a little bit off that pitch to the plate.
Just got a piece of it. It's still 2 balls, 2 strikes. The A's trying to win their 4th in a row. The Royals trying to end a 4-game losing streak. The A's have been ahead 3-0, and they have been down 5-3. They tied the game in the 7th inning. And Crisp hits a one-hopper to Betancourt. Out at second base. Double play.
Of the 8th. When this game is over, Paul Splittorff and I will have Boulevard Royals live out at Rivals. We'll be talking about Uniesky Betancourt's Grand Slam split's going to break that down pitch by pitch. Plus, we'll hear from Ned Yost and talk about Eric Hosmer's Double-A debut. All that and more coming up on Boulevard Royals Live. Ryan at Flexen. There we go.
Very nice. Craig Breslow will take over in the 8th inning. So the A's go with a lefty to replace a lefty. Jerry Blevins got David DeJesus on a pop-up with the bases loaded in the 7th inning. But he will not stay on for the 8th. Gabe Gross, who batted for Carson in the 8th, will stay in right field. Breslow pitched the 8th inning last night. Retire the side in order. DeJesus, Butler, and Guillen with a couple of strikeouts. It'll be Butler, Guillen, and Callaspo in the bottom of the 8th tonight. Down and away, ball 1. Philly has nothing out of 3 ground outs. Lost a hit on a good play by Pennington in the 6th inning. 2 balls and no strikes. Philly sitting on 49 career home runs. So not quite where Andrew Jones was over the weekend with the White Sox at going for his 400th home run, but Billy's still trying to hit a milestone, trying to get to 50, and he's ahead 3-0. And Billy is not one of those hitters, young hitter or otherwise, that changes his game or changes his swing if he's going to swing on 3-0.
You're right. He just stays consistent. He just as well drive it to center, right center, and left center, and not try to get out in front of it, change the swing to try to pull it.
So Billy walks, and now we'll see if the Royals go for some additional speed with a tie game in the bottom of the 8th inning, or just let Billy run. 43%, and the sprint you call it. That Billy Butler will finish with the most hits this year. Scott Pasednik with a base hit, and the only one of the 3 who have added to their total tonight. So Butler will run at first, and now Jose Guillen, who is thrilled to see anyone but Trevor Cahill on the mound. Jose with a slow roller to third and 2 ground balls back to the mound tonight.
You can lose sleep doing stuff like that.
No balls, 2 strikes. Breslow struck Ian out last night. So Jose is 1 for 3 against this lefty. 1-2. Still 1 ball, 2 strikes. Jose's left leg continues to get better after straining his left thigh muscle and hip flexor in the Seattle series. Still a few games away at least getting back into the outfield. And grounds it to third. Kuzminov off balance throw out at second base, and an impressive double play turned by the A's.
You're right, Ryan. Jose just really been topping the ball, and Kuzminov comes in and does a great job getting his throw off to second base. Gonzalez does a super job in avoiding Billy coming down to first base. You gotta see, just gets there and he tried to get that leg out there to try to whip him with it, but it didn't do any good on that throw. But the intent was very good.
Kevin Kuzminov last year had an excellent season on defense for the Padres. He committed only 3 errors all season and finished with a .990 fielding percentage. That was a National League record for a third baseman, so his glove ended up in the Hall of Fame after last year. The outfield extremely deep, guarding against the extra base hit, so a lot of room out in right field. And for the second straight game, Alberto Callaspo has 2 hits.
Right, he didn't really hit this ball well. It just is up, out over the plate. He just stayed behind it and tried to drive it to right field, and just got enough of it to get it out there. But the biggest thing was his swing was level, even though the pitch was up, and he got enough of the ball to get it out in the right field.
So the go-ahead run at first base with 2 down, and ball 1 to Mitch Meyer with a single and a run scored back in the second inning. Broken bat and a pop up to the left side, and it's Pennington behind Kuzminov to end the inning. So we'll go to the 9th at Kauffman Stadium, tied at 5. Joaquin Soria has converted his last 18 save chances, and all 5 of the last road trip. But he'll come on for the 9th and get Derek Barton, Kurt Suzuki, and Kevin Kuzminoff. Soria getting some work last night. He did not pitch in the All-Star game, so he needed some work and gave up a walk in the top of the 9th inning, but nothing else. He faced Derek Barton in that inning, and Barton flied out to deep center field. This is game number 91 for the A's, and Derek Barton is the only player to appear in every game. He was just 2 for 29 coming into tonight, but 3 hits, 2 doubles, 2 runs scored, and a stolen base, his first of the year. And not just any stolen base, but a stolen base of 3rd. With the A's down by 1 in the same inning where, after fouling a pitch off, he grabbed the back of his left leg. So that surprised everyone, I'm sure, including his own manager. And he's still bothered by that left leg.
It's just amazing. Maybe it's when he gets that torque on the backside, he goes so far, and then it kind of catches on him. And it's obviously he still feels more like a cramp than a pull, but he's able to shake it off a little bit.
You know, not to mention the back leg. That's typically where you get your power from, right? I mean, he grabbed his leg in the middle of his at-bat in the 7th inning, but still doubled to deep left field.
Yeah, I've seen guys pull hamstrings on a swing. That definitely can't happen. But on a hot night like tonight, you don't know whether it's a hamstring or whether just the fact that it's cramping up on him.
We'll see if the A's will run for him if he reaches. Foul ball up the first base side.
He'll probably be a definite candidate for the cold tub when this game's all over.
Barton drafted in the first round by the Cardinals, came to the A's in the deal that sent Mark Mulder to St. Louis, and that never really worked out. Mulder had all kinds of shoulder problems. Change up his line to short. And now Joaquin will get Kurt Suzuki. Suzuki is 1 out of 4. Back in the A's 3-run first inning, he singled and came around to score. He is 0 out of 5 against Joaquin Soria. One ball, one strike. Final game of the series is tomorrow afternoon. No television. And then the Royals begin a 3-game series with the Blue Jays on Monday night. And that's Anthony LaRue against Jesse Litch. TV on Monday and Tuesday in that series. Right center field. That's going to roll deep. Meyer over to cut it off. Suzuki on his way to second base. And he is safe with a double. And Mitch Meyer made that play a lot closer than it should have been. Suzuki not a great runner, but nonetheless, Mitch hustling over, cutting it off, and making a pretty good throw to second.
Well, he did a good job getting over there, Ryan. And Suzuki, right from the time he hit this ball, he wasn't slowing down at first base. He was going to try to stretch this into a double and make the outfielders make a play. It's a high fastball out over the plate. He stayed right behind it, and you can see him make a good turn there. Mitch has had this ball when he's only a couple steps around first base, but he turned it on after he got around the bag.
So the A's have the go-ahead run in scoring position for Kevin Kuzminoff, who has driven in 5 runs in the first 2 games of the series. 3 of those tonight. No balls and 1 strike. This would be Kuzminov's first ever plate appearance against Joakim Soria.
I'm sure he probably wishes he had that pitch back to Suzuki. He had thrown him a breaking ball, and he's been waving at that breaking ball down and away, and he left the fastball up out over the plate for him.
Outside, 1 ball, 1 strike. The A's scored 3 runs in the first inning tonight. Kuzminov drove in 2. And then he tied the game at 5 with a single off of Blake Wood in the 7th. Good pitch. At the knees over the inside corner, and Kuzminov just couldn't pull the trigger.
Well, that's a tough pitch right here, just running down and in on him, and he really likes to be able to get his arms extended, and they just tied him up with that pitch on the in and half.
And goes with a fastball away, so had him set up inside, and Kuzminov didn't get a very good hack at it, but still able to make contact.
That's one of the few times that Joaquin has missed his spot, and Jason wanted another pitch in to try to keep him from getting extended, and Joaquin left his ball out over the plate, and he had a real good swing at it. I don't even want to make that mistake again.
Rainbow, and he threw it over his head.
We've seen that curveball a few times today. But he just slips right out of there, and it might be the moisture on his hand, whatever it might be. But we've seen Trevor Cahill make a couple curveball throws like that.
And there aren't many pitchers in the game with guts like Soria, but he's not afraid to come right back with that pitch, even though he missed so badly on the previous one.
I agree with that one.
Changeup. Struck him out.
Well, you know, the Joaquin's got an arsenal, and in everything in his arsenal, he can throw for strikes. And very rarely he's going to back you up with the same pitch. And he wants to get ahead of it with the fastball and then go to everything else. And Kuzminov that gave every indication of a fastball. I mean, got way out in front of that changeup.
So it's Adam Rosales who has 2 hits, an RBI, and a run scored. With the Reds last year, Rosales got 1 at bat against Soria, and Joaquin struck him out.
Now, he's been tied up pretty much all night tonight too. Even though he's got a couple hits, one was just by fastball, and the other one was deep shortstop. But Farnsworth really tied him up, put a fastball up and in, and kind of tore all of his bat apart. And so he's another guy that likes to get his arms extended and could be vulnerable inside also.
Well, if somebody was covering second base, Suzuki would have been out. So Soria had something in mind when he turned towards second base.
That's one of those courtesy things. Oh, I know you're back there. I'll just do this little inside move and see what it looks like. Because the Vilas didn't move and Betancourt didn't move. So this is all Soria controlling the running game.
1-1 on Rosales. Hit hard and into left center field. DeJesus has it. Suzuki coming to the plate. And the throw is a little late, just up the line. A difficult play for a left-hand thrower. And Adam Rosales has driven in his second run, and the A's are in front by 1.
This is a situation here, Ryan. He tried to get this ball inside, and Suzuki just did miss getting hit with this ball. He comes in, and David makes a nice throw. Like I say, catchers don't move that bat and force him to go around the bat, but he was able to get in there ahead of the throw.
You know, Frank, just some of the little subtleties of the game. If that's a right-hand thrower in center field, he doesn't have to go to a full pivot before making the throw. It's a more natural throw. Of course, right-hand thrower has to backhand it, but David has to open his hips completely up, and maybe that was enough to pull the throw offline.
Yeah, plus he's going slow. He's going to his right also, and if he's coming straight in, it definitely makes a big difference. I don't know if Suzuki really picked that ball up off the bat or not, but he came very close to being hit by that ball.
Still no balls, 2 strikes.
We're going to take a look at him here. He just goes into a full sprint as soon as that ball's hit. I just barely missed his left leg. Give it the little jab step there, a little dance step there, and then he had to get his speed back up again. So good base running on Kurt Suzuki's part.
Soria strikes out Ellis, but the A's take the lead and have Andrew Bailey on for the bottom of the ninth. One in the ninth against Joaquin Soria. And now they send their closer, Andrew Bailey, who went to his second straight All-Star game this year. Last year, the American League Rookie of the Year. Made the jump from Double-A to the big leagues and won that award. And in the ninth, he'll get Mike Aviles, Yuniesky Betancourt, and Scott Posednik, trying to help Joaquin Soria avoid a loss. Aviles walked and scored in the Royals' 5-run second inning, the only inning that the Royals have scored tonight. Otherwise, he is 0 for 2 and 0 for his last 15. And when a hitter is having difficulty getting hits swinging the bat, every now and then they'll think about dropping down a bunt.
Well, you know, right now I think they ought to just try to take some pitches. You know, need one run and you're not swinging the bat well. Just go and take the pitch as far as you can take him in this situation, being the leadoff hitter.
Down and in at 97 miles an hour. 2-2. Bailey was taken by the A's in the 6th round of 2006 out of Wagner University, and I'll give you $1 if you can tell me where that is. He was a starter in college, a starter in the minor leagues, and the A's sent him to the bullpen in 08 because of control problems. And what they got out of that was the American League Rookie of the Year last year. Into center field, the Royals have the time runner at first with nobody out. So Avila snaps the 0 for 15 and does it right when the Royals need it.
Nice controlled swing by Aviles right here. This is like a little cutter, 91 miles an hour, and he just takes it right back up the middle. They just squared it up real nice.
Betancourt lays down a bunt. The A's may have had a play at second base, and then Bailey almost threw it away. That bunt was effective. It moves Aviles up, but it was a hard bunt. I think there was a play at second base.
Well, right here, if he's coming up being aggressive, he has a big chance to get the play at second base on this one.
So Betancourt with muscle in the second inning, hitting a grand slam, and now with some finesse, putting the tying run at second base. And one away to Scott Posednik. 1 for 3 with a triple and a run scored in the Royals' 5-run second inning. Bailey not getting the calls in the bottom of the strike zone.
Well, that's a good situation for the Royals. If they can get a base hit to center field with Tucker Chris from center field, they'd give them a great chance to score this run. That's one of those situations too, Ryan, where you don't want to play too shallow. You don't want to get that winning run to second base, but with his arm in center field, they're trying to give him every advantage they can.
Aviles turning around, checking the depth of the outfielders. Got the call that time. Wow. A couple of pitches earlier looked closer to a strike than that one.
Well, I agree with you, Ryan. And he's just trying to keep the ball down and try to get it on the ground, and it's right at the bottom of the strike zone when it goes past Posednik's knees.
Had a play off to the third base side. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Posednik has only seen Bailey once. And last year when Scott was with the White Sox, Bailey struck him out. But look at that gap in right center field. The Chiefs could play a preseason game in between Coco Crisp and Gabe Gross. Fastball up at 98 miles an hour, and Posednik is still breathing.
And one thing Scotty's trying to do right here, and he's doing a good job of it, not over swinging. He's just trying to stay real short and try to meet the ball. And if he throws it high, I think it's to Scott's advantage on the high one, because he does a real good job of getting this ball and hitting the left, getting that high fastball and hitting the left center field.
Three balls, 2 strikes. Posednik rounds it to Rosales. So there are 2 down, and Aviles moves up to third base. So Jason Kendall with a chance to tie it. Kendall with just 1 official at bat tonight. He has 2 walks, a sacrifice fly, and a stolen base. This is Jason's first plate appearance against Bailey. And he swings and misses at the first pitch. Of course, with a runner at third base and a pitcher with excellent stuff, at times that can be challenging for the catcher on pitches in the dirt. Andrew Bailey has not thrown a single wild pitch all year. Aviles opened the inning with a single. Betancourt moved him up to second base. Besednik got him to third with a ground out. Had a play, and the count is 0-2. The Oakland A's last year against the Royals, and they hooked up for 3 series. They were 6-2 against KC. And for whatever reason, the A's have played very well here at Kauffman Stadium. In their last 43 games in KC, they've won 32. And now it's 33 as Bailey strikes out Kendall, and the A's have won the first 2 games of the series. And Bailey finishes the game with heat on a hot night, 99 miles an hour. We'll be right back.